how do diplomats do this? How do they deal with the most difficult people? Well, there are a number of hacks and tactics that you can use. One in particular involves listening. I tell my students when they go into a room, the first thing they should do is not go up and give an important speech or slam their fist down and state their position, but rather go up to people and ask them, what do you think? It's unexpected, it lowers their guard, but it also is very important because it helps you understand what it is they want from the equation. Persuasion is not like we imagine. It's not taking your views and convincing someone else that their views are wrong. It works like this. Taking 1 plus 1 equals 3. Or in other words, your ideas plus my ideas into a new reality. It arranges the consensus in a shared understanding, which is very different from forcing someone to do things your way. Another tactic that diplomats use is to reframe the problem. A good friend of mine, who is the ambassador of a Central European country, was at a negotiation. He had been there for months, working out deals, making promises, and using his capital back and forth between many countries. One day before the vote, he received a communique from his capital. It said, "Vote against the document." No explanation. So what do? If you vote against the document, you undermine everything that you've been working for the past months, not to mention you will be completely ineffective in the future in representing any interest your country has. On the other hand, if you vote for the document, you will be unemployed. What did he do? The ambassador found a third way. He recognized that there was an arcane rule that allowed someone to vote on the document that was currently being negotiated, not the final document his government opposed. He quickly gathered support, called for an intermediate vote. The document, as it stood with the language he could support, was voted by acclamation. The parts that were bad were thrown out. Mission accomplished. If you can reframe the problem and look at it from a different perspective, you can get even a group of people to have your way. Another challenge that diplomats face, probably the biggest of all, is conflict. Now, most of us fear it. Some people thrive in conflict, but diplomats run toward it because they recognize it as a powerful tool. You may experience conflict if you've ever gone into a Chinese market where the prices are not set. I once took my son and explained it this way to him. We're going to go in, and the seller is going to ask a high price. We're going to counter with a low price. And then in the end, we probably would pay $30 for the purse. So, just as I had explained, the seller asked for $50. I quickly countered with $10. My son immediately blurted out, "But Dad, I thought we were going to pay $30. Conflict is difficult and tricky, and it's hard to know if you're doing what's right. If you have a plan, you know your red lines, you know where you can compromise, you can find ways to get to solutions. And that's an important thing. I tell my students frequently, words matter. In the art of diplomacy, if you can do the things I mentioned, if you can master history, understand the culture, and master your relationships with people, the other alternative is not as good, letting others have your way.